While driving my wife and her friends to a spa weekend, I heard her say from the back seat, "Honestly, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control." The car went quiet, except for their laughter. When we got there, she didn't even say thank you, just slammed the door and said, "Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you." I drove 5 hours home in silence. Yesterday, she showed up crying at my door, begging me to talk. Hey everyone, before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. Not sure where to start with this one, but I'm still processing everything that happened this weekend. My hands are literally shaking as I type this. Married 8 years to Skylar, both mid-30s, and I thought things were, well, not perfect, but normal, you know. Last Friday started like any other day. Woke up at 5:30 a.m., made coffee, scrolled through my phone while Skylar slept in. We've been doing our own morning routines for a couple years now. She says my early bird schedule ruins her sleep, so separate alarms it is. Whatever keeps the peace, right? Around 8, I hear her moving around upstairs, music blasting from her Bluetooth speaker. She's packing for this fancy spa weekend with her friends, something she's been planning for months. All good. She deserves a break. We all do. When she comes downstairs with her designer overnight bag, the one I got her last Christmas that cost more than my monthly truck payment, she mentions casually that her friend's husband bailed on driving them. Then comes the ask, would I mind taking them? It's only a 5-hour drive each way, and I'd have the whole weekend to myself after dropping them off. I hesitate. That's a lot of driving in one day, and I had plans to meet Hugo for our Saturday fishing trip. But Skylar does this thing where she tilts her head and gives me this look, and I just gave in, like always. This becomes important later. So by 10 a.m., I'm behind the wheel, with Skylar riding shotgun and her 3 friends, Laura, Haley, and Ruth, crammed in the back with their bags and snack cooler. First hour was fine, music playing, everyone chatting about normal stuff. I mostly stayed quiet, focusing on the road while they talked about people I don't know. By hour 3, they'd gone through 2 bottles of premixed margaritas from those pouches you can get at any convenience store. Not enough to be wasted, but enough that they got loud and started forgetting I was there. That's when it happened. They were talking about marriages and relationships. Laura was complaining about how her boyfriend never listened and how she has to nag him for every little thing. Then Skylar, my wife, chimes in with, "Honestly, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control." Skylar didn't even look at me as she was walking away. Just called back over her shoulder that I shouldn't forget to wash the sheets before she gets back because they stink like me. Then she laughed. They all did. I stood there next to my car, people coming and going around me at the resort entrance, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. 8 years, and she couldn't even say thank you for the 10 hours of driving I'd just committed to. Just, they stink like you. That was it. The drive back was the longest 5 hours of my life. No music, no podcasts, just me and my thoughts on an empty highway. Every conversation, every argument, every compromise we'd made over the years started replaying in my head, but with this new lens. Had she been controlling me this whole time? Remember how I gave up my weekly guy nights because she said they were juvenile? Or how we always spend holidays with her family because mine is too chaotic? The car went completely silent for like 3 seconds. Then they all burst out laughing. All of them. I literally felt my grip tighten on the steering wheel. My knuckles went white. But I didn't say anything. Just kept driving like I hadn't heard, even though I'm pretty sure my face was burning red. They must have realized I could hear them because they changed the subject right after. But the damage was done. For the remaining 2 hours, I replayed those words in my head over and over. Rescue dog. So easy to control. 8 years. 8 fucking years together. And that's how she sees me? Some pathetic animal she's trained? I kept driving, answering their questions with one-word responses when necessary, but mostly just numb. When we finally arrived at this fancy mountain resort, all glass and stone, probably costs more per night than my monthly mortgage, Skylar and her friends piled out with their bags. I got out to help, but they were already grabbing everything. How about when I wanted to use my bonus to fix up my project car, but somehow that money went toward new kitchen appliances instead. By the time I pulled into our driveway, it was almost midnight. The house felt different, colder. I wandered from room to room, really seeing things for the first time. How there are literally no photos of my family anywhere. How my stuff is always hidden away in drawers while her things get displayed. How even the damn coffee maker is the one she wanted, not the simpler one I preferred. I sat down at our desktop computer to check my email before bed. Skylar keeps her laptop password protected. Red flag much? That's when I noticed she hadn't logged out of her social media. I've never been the type to snoop, but after what I heard in the car, 2 hours later, I was still scrolling through years of messages between her and her friends. Messages about me. How she trained me to give her what she wants. How she deliberately picks fights when I bring up things that matter to me. How she and Laura laugh about their projects, meaning me and Laura's boyfriend. It was like reading about a stranger, or worse, reading about myself from the perspective of someone who sees me as a joke. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, something had changed in me. The hurt was still there, But underneath it was something else. Something hot and sharp that made my hands steady instead of shaky. I made a decision right then. I'm done being someone's rescue dog. This morning I called Hugo. I'm going to need his help. Skylar will be home on Monday, expecting her well-trained pet to be waiting with his tail wagging. She's got another thing coming. Update 1. Wow. First off, thank you all for the support on my last post. That hit differently. Reading through hundreds of comments from complete strangers who understood exactly what I was feeling, that got me through the weekend. It's been 4 days since I dropped Skylar and her friends at that spa resort. 4 days since I heard my wife of 8 years call me her rescue dog. 4 days of the most eye-opening experiences of my life. Remember how I mentioned finding her social media messages? That was just the tip of the iceberg. After I posted here, I decided to dig deeper while she was still away. Not proud of it, but I went through everything. Our shared laptop, old phone backups, financial statements. The works. What I found made me physically sick. First, the money stuff. Turns out, we don't have as much saved as I thought. For the past 3 years, Skylar's been siphoning money from our joint account into a private one I knew nothing about. Not huge amounts at once, but between $200 and $500 every month. Adds up to over $20,000. Our money. Money we were supposedly saving for a down payment on a bigger house. When I checked our credit card statements, which she always insisted on handling, I discovered she's been hiding purchases too. Stuff she told me was on sale or a gift from her mom was actually maxing out our credit card. The worst part? She's been paying only minimum payments while telling me everything was paid in full. Then I found something that made my blood boil. A text conversation with Laura from last Christmas, right after I gave Skylar that expensive overnight bag. Skylar just opened ours gift. Another overpriced bag to add to the collection, lol. At least he's consistent. Better than Frank, who got me a blender. Skylar, I trained him years ago. Acts super excited about one designer thing, and he thinks that's all he ever needs to get me. Men are so simple. You're the master. Teach me your ways. There were hundreds of these conversations, years of them, mocking me for working late to afford the things she wanted, laughing about how she manages me by withholding affection until I give in to whatever she wants. Screenshots of our private arguments sent to her friends with laugh-crying emojis. Saturday morning, I texted Hugo. He came over with coffee and sat with me while I showed him everything. Hugo's known us both for years, so at first he thought I was overreacting. Then I showed him a video Skylar had sent Laura 2 months ago. Skylar recording me while I fixed our leaky bathroom sink, mimicking my movements and making faces behind my back. You could hear Laura laughing in the background of the call. Hugo's face said it all. That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. We spent the rest of Saturday making a plan. First stop, the bank. I opened a new account in just my name and transferred half of what was left in our joint account. Left enough for any pending bills, but protected what I could. Not revenge. Just protection. Next, we went through our monthly expenses. Turns out I've been paying for subscriptions I never use, meal kits that only she eats, and her monthly self-care stuff that costs more than my car payment. Canceled everything except the essential household bills. By Sunday morning, I was on a roll. Called a locksmith and had all the locks changed. Packed up her clothes and personal items carefully. I'm not a monster. And moved them to a storage unit, paid for 30 days up front, and texted the details to her sister, the only member of her family I still respect. Then came the hard part, telling people. I hate drama, but I needed allies. Made a simple message with screenshots of her worst texts about me and sent it to our closest friends and my family. Didn't blast it publicly, that felt too nuclear, but made sure our inner circle knew what was happening before she could spin her version. The responses were mixed. Her friends obviously took her side, called me invasive for looking at her messages. Whatever. My family was supportive, though my mom asked if we could try counseling first. Sorry, Mom, but you don't go to counseling with someone who sees you as a pet. The most surprising reaction came from Skylar's brother. He called me Sunday night and said he'd suspected something wasn't right for years. Apparently, Skylar has always been like this, manipulating situations to get her way. He apologized for not saying something sooner. All day Sunday her texts rolled in. First casual, hey babe, having an amazing time, miss you. Then confused, why aren't you responding? Is everything okay? By Sunday night demanding, answer your phone now, this isn't funny. I didn't respond to any of them. On Monday morning, yesterday, I took the day off and started reclaiming our house. Moved the furniture how I wanted it. Took down the live, laugh, love crap she insisted on hanging everywhere. Ordered a new mattress. She always complained about my mattress hurting her back, so I slept on my side for years to avoid ruining it. Changed the Wi-Fi password, the streaming passwords, removed her from my phone plan, and unlinked her from all my accounts. Even went through old family photos and found ones that actually made me happy. Not just the posed, perfect shots she approved for our walls. It felt like waking up from a coma. How did I not see this sooner? Around 4 yesterday afternoon, my doorbell camera notification pinged. There she was, standing on the porch with her overnight bag, looking confused at the new doorknob. I watched through the app as she tried her key, then started pounding on the door. I didn't answer. She called 14 times in 20 minutes. Left voicemails that evolved from confused to angry to tearful begging. The last one just said she was going to Laura's and would give me space until I calmed down. This morning, I met with a lawyer. Started the divorce process. It's going to be messy. We have the house, some investments, 8 years of entangled lives, but I don't care anymore. If I have to start over completely at 34, so be it. She showed up at my work an hour ago, mascara running, eyes puffy, the perfect picture of distress. Everyone was staring. She made a scene, asking what she did wrong, why I changed the locks, if there was someone else. I just looked at her and said, "I'm not your rescue dog anymore." The look on her face, she knew exactly what I meant. Then she started crying, said she didn't mean it, that I was taking a joke between friends too seriously, that I violated her privacy by reading her messages. I just walked away and went back to work. She's been blowing up my phone ever since. Laura, Ruth, and Haley have all texted too, telling me I'm being childish and cruel, that I'm throwing away 8 years over one comment. But we all know it wasn't just one comment, wasn't it? It was 8 years of lies. Skylar's coming by the house. Says we need to talk face to face. I agreed, but only because I have 8 years of receipts to show her. 8 years of being treated like a trained animal who exists to make her life convenient. I don't know what happens next, but for the first time in years, I'm making my own choices, and it feels good. Finally, update. Okay, this is probably going to be my last update on this whole situation. The past 2 weeks have been absolute chaos, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. Thanks to everyone who's followed along and offered advice. You guys have been the voice of reason when I needed it most. So where did we leave off? Right. Skylar was supposed to come over to talk after I changed the locks and moved her stuff to storage. She initially tried to bring her dad as backup, lol, nope, but eventually agreed to come alone. I spent that afternoon arranging the evidence I'd collected. Bank statements, credit card bills, screenshots of texts, everything laid out on the dining table like some depressing museum exhibit of our marriage. Hugo came by beforehand and helped me set up my phone to record the conversation. Legal in my state, checked with my lawyer. At 7:30, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera app. Just Skylar, looking surprisingly normal, not the tear-streaked mess from earlier. She'd done her hair, put on makeup, and was wearing the blue dress I always liked. Classic manipulation tactic. When I opened the door, the first thing I noticed was the smell of her perfume. The expensive one she only wears on special occasions. She immediately went in for a hug, which I sidestepped, gesturing her inside without touching her. The first 10 minutes were honestly surreal. She walked around looking at the changes I'd made to the house, making small comments like she was a visitor. Asked if I wanted some wine. Complimented the new furniture arrangement, acting like this was just another evening at home, not the end of our marriage. When we finally sat down at the dining table, she saw all the papers and her expression changed. That's when the waterworks started. Said she'd made a stupid joke that got taken out of context, that I was overreacting, that going through her messages was the real betrayal. I just sat there, letting her talk herself out. When she finally paused for breath, I pushed the bank statements toward her and asked about the $20,000. Y'all, the speed at which her story changed was fascinating. First, it was a special account for a surprise vacation for us. Then it was emergency savings her therapist suggested all women should have. Then finally, when I showed her the transfers matching up with shopping sprees and girls' trips, she snapped that she deserved nice things after putting up with me for 8 years. And there it was, the mask completely off. For the next hour, it was like watching someone transform. She cycled through every emotion. Crying, pleading, angry accusations, seduction attempts, more crying. When none of that worked, she started threatening me. Said she'd tell everyone I was abusive, that her dad would destroy me financially, that no woman would ever want me after she was done spreading rumors. I just played the recording of her spa car comment and the following laughter on my phone. She went white, then red. Then she grabbed my water glass and threw it against the wall. That's when the doorbell rang again. It was Laura, alone, looking nervous as hell. This wasn't planned. Turned out Laura had been sitting in her car down the street for almost an hour, working up the courage to come talk to me. Skylar was furious immediately, accusing Laura of betraying her. What came next was the plot twist I never saw coming. Laura had brought her own evidence. Screenshots of conversations I hadn't found, including Skylar's messages during the spa weekend, bragging about how she was cheating on me with her boss, planning to upgrade once she secured a promotion he'd promised her. There were photos too, definitely not friendly workplace interactions. I just sat down on the couch and laughed. Actually, laughed. 8 years of my life with someone who saw me as a stepping stone. Laura looked at me, then at Skylar, and asked why she would do this to someone who treated her so well. Said she'd been feeling guilty for months, watching Skylar manipulate and mock me, that the car ride comment had been the final straw. Skylar completely lost it. Called Laura every name in the book, said they'd been friends for 15 years, and this was how she repaid her. Laura just quietly said, "Maybe we shouldn't have been friends for that long." After Laura left, Skylar tried one more angle. Claimed she needed financial help until she could get on her feet, that we could work out a separation agreement without lawyers, that she'd sign whatever I wanted if I just gave her access to our accounts again. I handed her the business card from my lawyer and showed her to the door. She stood on the porch, crying for real this time, asking if 8 years meant nothing to me. I just said they meant everything to me. That's why this hurts so much. Then I closed the door. The next 2 weeks have been a mix of peaceful and chaotic. Peaceful because I'm rediscovering who I am without someone constantly criticizing my choices. Chaotic because divorce is a complicated process, especially with someone who's fighting it every step of the way. Skylar's been trying different tactics with our friends and family, telling some people I had an affair, telling others I'm having a mental breakdown. Most people have seen through it, especially after I shared those screenshots, but it's still exhausting. The financial untangling has been a nightmare. She ran up another $2,000 on our joint credit card before I could close it completely. My lawyer says we can add that to the divorce settlement, but it still pisses me off. Her dad called me last week, not to threaten me like I expected, but to apologize. Said he and Skylar's mom had enabled her behavior her whole life, and he was sorry I got caught in the fallout. Weirdly, that conversation hit me harder than anything else. Made me realize Skylar's probably never going to change. It's been 6 weeks since that car ride now. The divorce is moving forward. We'll sell the house and split the proceeds, minus the money she took, according to my lawyer. I'm staying with Hugo temporarily while looking for an apartment. Last night, I went on my first date since college that wasn't with Skylar. Nothing serious. Just coffee with someone a friend introduced me to. It was awkward and a little uncomfortable, but also nice to just have a normal conversation with someone who seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm never going back to being someone's rescue dog again. I've started setting boundaries with everyone in my life. Lost a few friends who were apparently only friends with the couple, but the ones who stayed are the ones who matter. For anyone in a similar situation, questioning whether you're overreacting, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. You deserve better than being someone's pet project or emotional punching bag. As for Skylar, last I heard she's living with her parents and telling anyone who will listen that I'm the villain in this story. Laura said her boss broke things off once the divorce drama started. Apparently, he's married too. Karma's I guess I still have moments where I miss the life I thought we had. 8 years is a long time to just erase. But then I remember the real relationship underneath all my delusion, and I know I made the right choice. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You've been my therapist through all this. I might not update again unless something major happens, but know that your support helped me find my spine when I needed it. Like today's story? A super thanks helps me keep bringing you the best daily content. Your support means I can keep doing what I love. Thanks for being awesome.